Well, hi there. You're watching and or listening to Podcast is Broken, a weekly podcast where we try to make Canadian news and politics funner. My name is Brittlestar.
My name is Steve Boots, and because I am currently on leave for teaching, I am going to let funner slide this time.
Right on.
It's less work for me. My name is Lisa, and I think it is the most funnerest.
Oh, that one hurt.
I know.
Oh, that was nice. There was a pregnant pause in there. That was exciting.
You don't have a red pen anymore. You're on vacation.
Yeah,
I never used the red pen. The red pen's stressful. I was a blue pen guy.
Oh,
sometimes green. Green is very soothing.
So listen, how were you listen, I don't care. How are your Canada days?
Canada Day is always, a conundrum. Like well, not much. I mean, I used to. I love Canada Day. I love our country. It's been tainted the last few years. Well, I know, right? I'll buy your damn t-shirt. Calm down.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's always like, suspicious to me that people flying flags now. I don't want it to be, but I think next year is going to be the year that I like reclaim it and take it back.
Right.
Yeah.
It's tough, right? Because like patriotism is always a tricky question when it comes to something like Canada, which is a country with a complicated history. There's good stuff, there's bad stuff, there's lots of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so it always feels weird to be like celebratory of a place where you're aware of the problems, but also it's a place that deserves celebrating at the same time. And it's like, what do you?
Yeah, I think that's kind of the key, right? I think I said that before with Canada, is that Canada is like, I think some countries, not naming names, but I think some countries will celebrate
downstairs neighbors.
will celebrate the bombastic history and conquest of what they've done in the past. And I think Canada is one of those we're different in the sense that we're kind of like, yeah, listen, man, we did a lot of stuff that wasn't great, but tomorrow's looking better. That should be our slogan. Welcome to Canada. Tomorrow's looking better. And could refer to weather, history, everything.
Trademark.
But I think that's a really interesting shift that's happening in the way that people think about Canada Day in the last couple of years, that it's become a time to like, there's celebration, yeah, but there's also some reflection. I think that's probably a good thing.
I agree.
It is good.
What do you do for Canada Day, Steve?
I did nothing. A solid nothing. It was magnificent. I've been very busy and working very hard, and so I've been treasuring some time putting my feet up. But I did take my lovely wife out for supper at the greatest sushi restaurant in the universe. It is everything you would imagine that a sushi restaurant in Regina would be.
Oh, when I think sushi, I think Regina.
Oh, I gotta tell you, it's called Let's Sushi. Shout out, delicious. But it used to be a Swiss chalet.
Sushi chalet.
As
they call it sushi chalet? Please tell me they call it that.
They don't, but the sign stole a bunch of the old letters. Not stole, kept a bunch of the old letters from Swiss chalet. And so a couple are in very obviously different fonts to fill in the missing letters to spell Let's Sushi. And so you go inside, and it is still visibly a Swiss chalet. There are like chickens on the walls, and like
the wood benches,
stuff about like chickens better when it's rotisserie and all this stuff, and they serve you sushi. And the sushi was pretty good, I'm not gonna lie, but like it is just sushi in a Swiss chalet.
There's like that weird thing about sushi places, because here in Stratford, there's the General Store with the Kim family from Korea, and they have like phenomenal sushi, like the best sushi. And you walk in and they bought this like convenience store, and initially it had like, chocolate bars and all that kind of stuff, and you get regular convenience store stuff. And then they were like, you know what? Screw it. Let's just turn this into a sushi place. So it's got the same name. But you go in and it's just sushi, and it's the Kim's, and it's the coolest. It's great. It's really tasty. So I don't know what the deal is with sushi places and why people are so trusting.
I don't know. This one fascinates me because it's the only sushi place I've ever seen with a drive-through.
Wow.
Like the concept, it is, I swear.
What is the wait time in the drive-through? Like
concerningly brief.
But I mean, rolls are ready to go. I mean, is everyone ordering like California rolls? Is that the idea?
Yeah, I think
it's Regina, so probably.
Once you get past the initial yikes, it seems reasonable enough. Like if you're waiting a couple of minutes, like a roll's not that complicated to make. But like drive-through sushi, something about that, you're just like, I don't know, man.
People buy sushi at 7-Eleven. Like, I think you're fine with your drive-through sushi.
Can you buy sushi at 7-Eleven?
You can.
Can and should,
but not like
things.
when we see like the Korean 7-Elevens. I'm talking about like the dive 7-Elevens. They've got the little sushi California roll things.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what you can do and what you should do are different things.
I'm not
get the
promoting it. I'm just saying, get the chicken, get the taquito and go.
get your taquito and run.
That's exactly, because taquitos are deep fried. At least I know something's been deep fried.
Yeah.
It's safe, right? It's safe.
Yeah.
Safer, exactly, depending on the fillings.
It's close to boiling water, right?
Like, well, that sounds like a very traditional Saskatchewan way to celebrate Canada Day.
Yeah.
It's merging,
but it's merging Canadian history, right, and icons with chalet with diversity. Sushi, it is Canadian.
It's the most magnificently weird place. We had the best time. How about you, Stuart? How did you celebrate your Canada Day?
I was working. I was in Ottawa for Canada Day, and I was there doing some filming for a client, and it was exciting and it was fun. It was my first time being in Parliament Hill for Canada Day. And there's a couple things that stuck out. One is that one of the things of note was the flyovers by the planes that they do. Yeah. Oh. I was filming like almost all of them. And Shannon's looking at me and I'm like, yeah, why am I filming these? Like, who am I playing them for? Just remember it. Just live the moment. And
it's like recording fireworks.
Exactly. I know everyone's filming it and you're like, just enjoy it. It's fine. There's people with better cameras than you. They will post it on YouTube. You'll see it if you need to see it again. So that was amazing. That was fantastic. But the other thing that really stuck out to me is I talked to, like, we were doing street interviews and stuff like that, like the man on the street type of thing. Mm-hmm. And the thing that stuck out to me was the number of new Canadians that came up and spoke to me who were stoked to be in Canada and to be Canadians and to become more Canadian, whatever that happened to mean to them. And they were like, well, there's problems and stuff like that, but I'm anxious to stick it out and I'm going to work hard and I love Canada and I want to be in Canada. And it was like, this is amazing. It was so exciting. One guy was talking to me and he had his dad over. He had moved to Canada last year and he had his dad with him and his dad was over on holiday from India. And it was just like, Canada Day is the best day to be in Ottawa because the Ottawa, as we know, is the city that fun forgot. And I was there on July 2nd. And everyone is gone. Like, everyone's just gone.
Because everybody hits the bricks.
You ever try to do street interviews when there's nobody around?
Hello.
Canada Day, easy pickings. July 2nd, not so much. People are like, don't talk to me. But yeah, it was great. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. And the fireworks were good. And it was lots of fun. And Shannon and I got to go together, which is nice, That's sweet. Nice. So yeah, took a break from vacuuming to do that. I was like, put the vacuum down, honey. Let me take you out. Want to go to drive-through sushi? I heard Steve's taking his lucky lady to drive-through sushi.
It was all you can eat, I assure you. Nothing but the best for my lady.
All right, we should move on. We have, of course, people in the studio audience, the live studio audience for this recording and of this episode, and we'd like to say welcome to those people. And
Hello.
There's a few people that actually signed up to become paid subscribers just so they could come to this taping tonight. Just so you know that. I want you to know that.
Ooh.
Very exciting.
We appreciate you. Thank you.
We do. And if you have questions, feel free to pop them in the chat, and we'll probably ignore them until the end.
There'll be a quiz at the end of the show.
Yeah, exactly. We'll do something like that.
You don't win anything, but there'll be a quiz. No.
There could be. You could play the podcast is broken take-home game.
The home version.
The home game.
Just sit around with your family and offer pithy commentary.
There's conjecture. Lots of speculation.
Yeah. Wild allegations.
Allegedly.
Right? Lots of allegedlys. Giggles.
Yeah, what do we win is one comment here. And it's, you'll have to just stay tuned to find out. Good vibes.
Give it away.
Exactly. Well, don't give. It could be more than good vibes. Probably not. So the UK just had their election on July 4th, and it was fun to watch a little bit.
I mean, if you like seeing the Tories get wiped out, yeah, it was fantastic.
Big one.
I think there's like, I think, I'm not completely up on UK politics, but Steve mentioned the Tories reduced to 130 something seats.
Yeah, so I've just got the numbers up here. The current projections are 410 seats for the Labour, 131 for the Conservatives, 61 Lib Dem, and then 13 Reform, 10 Scottish National Party, and 2 for the Greens. But that is a wipeout of historical proportions.
Yeah, apparently the Tories have never done as bad as that since they've become a party, which is craziness.
Well, I mean, in fairness, it hasn't been going well.
It hasn't been great.
Like, it's not like they've been hitting it out of the park here.
No.
People didn't really catch Sunak mania.
No, that wasn't catchy.
I love the coverage of Sunak, Rishi Sunak. I guess, did they change prime minister right away? Maybe. I can't be sure. I can't remember what they do in the UK.
There will be a transition of power.
Yeah.
Like the election, it's all exit polls right now.
Right.
We're of course recording this 10 minutes before we post it on
funny
Sundays,
that it still have exit polls on Sunday morning, which is weird.
But so there will be recounts in certain regions and stuff, even into next week, just because there's automatic recounts when it's close.
Right.
So it'll probably be formalized, I would guess, next week-ish.
What's interesting is in all the coverage and hilarious is Rishi Sunak in various awkward pictures.
Him launching the election in the absolute pouring rain.
Wow.
Looking absolutely drowned.
He was
so sad looking. And then the next day, didn't he do something to do with the Titanic?
Oh,
he made some public appearance. He made some public appearance at the shipyard that built the Titanic or something along those lines. And somebody asked him a question about that. And if you've ever watched the UK political comedy, The Thick of It, that's all I could think of. It's just it's like Veep. Just he walked into these completely unnecessary traps every 10 seconds, and it never stopped being funny.
I loved when they asked the question, what's your favorite meal? And he said, my favorite meal is sandwiches. He'd fit right in Regina.
I'm just like you. I like sandwiches
between two things. Don't you? Don't we all?
We are
humans?
same. We are same. Yeah.
Why, yes, waiter. I would like to place my order now. I would like sandwiches. Thank you very much. That'll be all.
Sandwiches.
Oh my God.
It's just, he is like ChatGPT made flesh. He has no personality. And he's like, I am one of you, one of the people. Don't mind my billions of dollars.
Right?
God.
I'm cardboard cutout. I mean, they've gone through, that party's gone through a lot of leaders in the last little while, quite similar to a party that we have here. So, are we surprised? Is there stability? There was no stability.
I think it parallels a lot of what's happening in Canada, but it's just a few years further along.
Yeah.
Right? The Conservatives coming in particular, sort of the post Elizabeth May Conservatives making these sort of broad promises.
Press.
Wasn't Elizabeth May the one who was there during Brexit?
Yes.
Oh,
she got handed by
you're right. Yep.
David Cameron said he didn't want Brexit, and he said, "Okay, we're going to do the
washed
referendum."
His hands of it,
and then Brexit side won, and he went, "Okay, see you later."
No, I'm out.
Yeah,
and then it was Elizabeth May, right?
And then it was Elizabeth May, exactly. Yeah.
I'm Googling furiously now. That is the Canadian head of the Green Party, or am I mixing it up with somebody else?
Yeah, it's
Theresa May. Theresa May.
Thank you.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
You know somebody is right now screaming at their phone, right?
Too
I
many.
was expecting sort of Owen in the comments in the chat to be like, guys, you're an idiot. It's
Wake up, Owen.
Theresa May.
But sort of since then, it's been lots of empty promises of we will magically fix everything by saying we're good at government, right? We're good at budget, and that means we fix things. You can only tell people things are great when they're not for so long before they catch on.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of what's happened in the UK, particularly in the post-Brexit, where they just keep insisting things are great, but nobody's experiencing. And so that's happening to some degree on the Liberal side right now, but the Conservatives are right there with them.
Yeah. I mean, I read an article where they were interviewing somebody, and the whole Boris Johnson COVID fiasco of we're partying and we're above the law, which, again, we've seen that somewhere else. I think that was impactful, and I think people held that. And Brexit, are you listening, Alberta? Brexit did not go well for a lot of reasons.
Brexit has been a disaster, like beyond what anybody even imagined. And people
it was going to save them.
Disaster.
It was going to save the UK. We were going to be able to do whatever we wanted, and that just tanked it. So, and then we had the Liz Truss lettuce. Like, I mean, there's just been like
the head of lettuce was, for those of you who are at home and are not familiar with the head of lettuce, Liz Truss became leader of the Tories, and Twitter immediately started taking bets on it. Like, somebody posted a head of lettuce and was like, what will last longer, this head of lettuce or Liz Truss as prime minister? And the lettuce won.
Yeah, the lettuce.
It's true.
Bless the lettuce.
My God. There's the thing that would drive me nuts about the Brexit thing in the UK, and I'm hoping there'd be lessons to be learned from the UK by Canada, is that once Brexit happened and then people found out, oh, wait a minute, you mean I can't just live in Spain at the same time? I can't just go there. I can't just, go wherever I want. I have to do, there's visas and passports now. What the hell? And there was like, well, if I'd have known, I wouldn't have voted for Brexit. And it's like, yeah.
Did you ask?
This is the whole thing.
This is exactly what I mean. They're finding out the consequences of chasing after this sort of populist nonsense that folks like Poilievre are pushing.
Yeah.
Where they're just saying, we're going to magically fix everything through free market conservatism. And then the free market just moves to rip people off at every turn.
Sure.
And the conservatives shrug and say, we're going to fix it. Things are great. Things are great. We've increased spending on X by 3%.
Smoke and mirrors. Smoke and mirrors. That's what it is, right?
Record education spending.
So do we think it's going to have any impact in Canada? Do you think anyone's going to learn any lessons from this? Like, do you think that politically, first of all, the voters,
Could they?
Will they learn anything?
They? No.
Well, the politicians won't learn anything either, will they? Maybe. I'm sure they will.
I mean, I'm sure they have people that are pointing these things out to them, right? And being like, okay, well, we got 2 years because we're 2 years behind the UK.
There's that. And there's also like the conservatives around the world, like conservative parties around the world coordinate. There's something called the International Democratic Union. And this isn't like some elaborate conspiracy theory. Like, it's a very open
thing. It's a thing.
Yeah.
And Stephen Harper's the current chair. And the UK was a big pillar of their global influence. And they just blew through a ton of it. Mm-hmm. So whether or not the Canadian conservatives take notice of it, this massive political apparatus that just got their backsides handed to them is, right? So maybe it leads to some sort of change in tactics. I hope so. Do I have that sort of faith in Canadian politicians?
Well, or people in general.
That kind of. It's not even the politicians; it's the people, right?
Yeah, because all this information's available to people. Mm-hmm. It's not that hard to find, and it's not like it's not dark web tinfoil hat information. It's just information. It's just statement of fact. It's like, this is happening. It's like in the U.S. with the Project 2025 thing. It's like, it's just there. It's 900 pages, but don't worry about it. Run it through ChatGPT and it'll give you the highlights. It's great. It's easy.
Best thing ever.
But I mean, it's that's what's scary to me, is that the information is already there. And I think the problem is that we've probably said this before, that we're bombarded by information. We have so much access to information that it's too much information. And our reaction, instead of saying, okay, I'm going to be choosy and I'm going to find out the things I need to find out that might have an effect on me or those around me or my community. And instead we just choose apathy. We're like, whatever. That's the most dangerous thing to me, I think, for democracy, is that.
Or you only hear the loudest part, right? And so you don't bother to dig deeper.
Yeah.
And that's how we end up in bad situations, because people take things at face value. Like, we saw Pierre on Canada Day on his cross-country conservative caravan outside someone's field with the axe the tax sign, right?
Yeah.
And the bring it home sign that I'm sure he did not put there, or someone that he knows put there. for him to stop along the side of the road and take a picture of.
Has anyone done like a thing where you switch the letters around and you just like found a different sign that said something like, fax something, and he goes, this will be perfect.
Take some letters.
If like, as somebody who lives in Saskatchewan, you see signs with political messaging in people's fields like regularly. And what I will tell you is every single person who has that sort of political messaging in their field also has a gun.
Right.
So and don't touch their sign.
Like being alive.
Don't mess with their signs.
I'm just going to leave that sign be because I've seen what they do to stop signs in rural communities.
Right.
But that's why, like, don't you kind of think that was like a bit of a setup? Because if said farmer with pew pew saw some dude with a camera, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure there was some conversation. Anyway,
he knocked on the door for sure.
You think so?
But like, oh yeah.
Well, when he said that we were at the field of a like, farmer or business, like what? Whatever.
Yeah, he's that was bizarre. Like, he's so unnatural when he's off script. Like the way he held his hands out, like he was like,
come on back, and he's like, come back around. Come on
over here, friends.
Bring it home. Yeah, Go ahead, sir.
I was going to say I did really enjoy his outfit, though. I don't want to dwell on what people wear because I don't really care what people wear, but I did enjoy his outfit in a entertaining way. I just found it was just an interesting choice of ensemble. Not that I won the talk, but But
when you're driving your caravan, you want to be comfy,
which is something that he decided wasn't important to him,
right?
Which is fine.
Yeah, but that's the kind of stuff that is all this, smoke and mirrors and, axe the tax and bring it home with no substance, right? Mm-hmm. And like what happened with Brexit, they had all their slogans. They had all this is what's going to happen. Nobody bothered to dig deeper.
Yeah.
And then they were saddled with something they couldn't change.
Yeah, so Boris Johnson driving around with a big bus on the side saying he's going to save them bazillions of dollars.
Right. 350 million pounds per week. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
No, I agree. It boggles our mind too.
And part of what frustrates me with it is that we need the media in general to be calling BS on this stuff and to be fact checking this stuff consistently. And I know that a big part of that is there just isn't the capacity. There just aren't enough journalists employed to be doing this work. But plus,
it's also been undermined. Like journalism has been undermined so much, as we've talked when we had Rachel on. Mm-hmm. And
like the example that pops into my head is Post Media, like going after Justin Trudeau for not attending Calgary Stampede.
Yeah.
Like, did you see that?
Yes.
They're like, Justin Trudeau's skipping Calgary Stampede. How dare he?
It's an FU to Alberta.
A NATO summit.
Yeah.
But then also, Pierre Poilievre skipped Pride, and nobody heard a peep about that.
Right?
No one expected him to, I think, maybe.
No, I know. But I mean, Justin got slaughtered for his little dance and attending Pride in Toronto. And
little dance, which is like half a second of like going like
this
in front of a stand.
And at least he has rhythm. It wasn't a Jason Kenney dance, but no. But when I was scrolling through Pierre's little tweety tweets, he chose
your first mistake.
Sucker for punishment. But he stopped at legions and places of worship that he followed his people on Canada Day, right? Yeah. And so, but he's not inclusive. We've established that. You can't slam Justin for trying to be inclusive unless you don't want somebody that's inclusive. But the media is doing that, right? The media is showing that and perpetuating it.
Yeah, but he wants to be inclusive only in ways that are convenient to him.
Right, to the people he wants to include.
Exactly. One of our live studio audience members, Lil, said it boggles my mind that people can't see through him. And I think we've kind of touched on this before. I mean, I agree 100%. But I think we touched on this before, and just that idea of like everyone's swimming, everyone's treading water. And the amount of people I talk to that don't know what's happening is phenomenal. I think, how can you not know this? But then I realized that I'm kind of like totally immersed in it now. I'm totally like, I will read the paper in the morning. I will like read what's happening on Twitter. I'll read what's happening everywhere else I can find, like on the Apple News thing. I'll try to be as up on things as much as possible. Compared to the average person. And this is no slight to the average person whatsoever, because it's just, I think I'm just a weirdo for doing that. And I remember talking recently to Sandy Garacino, who co-hosts Canada Watching U.S. News with me. That was a little plug for my other show. And she said to me, you and I aren't like regular people. And she goes, I don't mean that as a flattering thing. It's just that we're weirdos. Like we're consuming way too much news and we know way too much. And we can't expect people to know that kind of information all the time. And I mean, that brought us back to a conversation about Trudeau and, the Liberal Party and what messaging has to change. And how do you cut through that? How do you, we talked to Scott Reed about that. How do you cut through that? How do you get that messaging across? And I don't know, man. I have no idea.
Well, especially when he tried to go out to the people, somehow that turned into an attack against him where it's like, he went out to a community event and immediately people are like, no, you lost a by-election. You can't go to community events. Like
you must be in mourning. I know.
Yeah.
I think part of the thing too is that there's so much that goes on. I mean, when you're looking at Twitter and politicians are updating things, by the minute, there is no news outlet that's going to be able to keep up on that kind of stuff, right? It's just the major news events. And most people come home, they put the news on while they're having dinner, and that's it. For us, when we're scrolling through Twitter, like the algorithm takes you to certain places, right? Like you're getting all this news information in quick succession. And so to process it is difficult because you also have to time stamp it as well and check, right? Because things are happening so quickly. So you can't just read a headline and go, oh, this must be it, without actually doing. So we're involved, right? Whether we want to be or not, we're involved at this point.
There's also on all sides a lot of just vibes-based politics, right? There's a lot of people for all parties who there's people who vote for the Liberals, the Conservatives, who have just always voted for the Liberals, the Conservatives, or the NDP, or whoever it may be. But there's also another group who view picking a politician almost like they view picking a friend. They just want to pick somebody they like, who tells them things they want to hear.
Yeah.
And they don't really care about getting into the meat and potatoes of policy. They just want to get told, I'm going to put more money in your pocket.
Yeah.
And so when they hear simple sloganeering like axe the tax, there are consequences to that sort of politics and that sort of policy, but they don't want to talk about that. They just want to hear, I'm going to cut your taxes. Easy peasy. Yeah. Right? And sort of the same thing with bring it home. Bring it home is a meaningless statement. Like he said, bring home Canada. Like bring it home to where?
It is home. It is home.
But this is it. It's because it's nonsensical. It's an ink blot. It's whatever you want it to mean.
But you also you don't want that friend that is nice to your face, but then is sleeping with your wife in the background. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
oh my God, that was a big jump.
Well, he's saying that people want elect politicians that are
allegedly,
their friends
allegedly,
because they people they like. Whatever. Quoting Steve. But that's why you have to do your research, right? Like you can't just take things at face value. And so I think by doing these things and doing, what else we do along with a lot of other people, we're trying to bring that information to people so they don't have to go and search it out. Right? Are we skewed? Yes, but that's fine.
Yeah, I think everyone's biased. For whatever reasons they're biased. Hopefully, except us. No, I feel like I'm biased. But I'm biased towards the right, the correct, the correct. Biased towards the facts.
The greatest.
As I said to the cameraman in Ottawa, I'm a big fan of science. That's made what I'm at.
Noted.
It was in reference to a bigger conversation, but it was one of those statements. It was just kind of like, I guess I have to make this statement.
I gotcha.
And the cameraman was also a fan of science. I'll just have you know. We were referring to someone else.
I'm sure there were other people that weren't.
Yeah, there's like a third party.
Opinions.
Yeah, not even challenging. It was just weird. Anyway, Amber Mack, who is a media personality, and she's been pushing her hashtag Axe the Facts and really pushing the Axe the Facts thing. And I think it's almost too clever for people to notice properly, but it's a great idea. I like the idea of like you're not being told everything. And it's pretty simple to figure it out if you want to figure it. But I think someone's got to bullet list these things. Someone's going to have to just be like, this is it. It's going to be the Ronald Reagan one pager. It's going to be like, here's the deal. And I know all those issues are deeper and they require more information. Nobody's got that time. Nobody's got that kind of time. You know what I mean?
But like, isn't it like, I struggle with that because the world is a complicated place and it needs complicated solutions. Like, we're not going to be able to come at it with simple slogans.
Sure.
The job of the government is to take those complicated things and make them make sense to the public. Like, that's a big part of their role, right? And so that sort of that internal slogan of the liberals that we've heard forever, that if you're explaining, you're losing, that's just, it's so wrong-headed. And that's a big part of why we're in such a mess with the carbon tax stuff, is the government just sort of assumed the public would figure it out at some point and go, oh, never mind, this rules. And it's like, no, you've got to really walk people through stuff, man. And it's not that they're stupid. It's that they just don't have context. They don't have, like you said, the time. They just need it really handed to them very clearly and directly.
Super clearly and directly. I agree.
In bullet points. You're right. You're right.
I'm usually right.
Broken clock twice.
Oh my God, I thought Shannon could hear me when I said that. Oh gosh, I just heard the door. It's okay.
A vacuum comes flying in.
I want to just jump from there as we get into the show here. We're at halfway point roughly. You had mentioned there's something going on with the Saskatchewan versus the CRA. I would like to talk about Saskatchewan versus the CRA. It sounds like the worst.
You mean in this corner we have Saskatchewan. In this
banana republic Scott Moe is establishing for himself over here.
A lot of people looking forward to Deadpool and Wolverine. I'm looking forward to Saskatchewan government versus CRA.
So Scott Moe has decided to erect a small castle in central Regina so as to establish his personal fiefdom.
Yeah.
But no, sushi. So he's not a sushi man. I feel like we could confidently assume Scott Moe is like, no, I don't want sushi.
Yeah. Good Scott Moe. Good Scott Moe.
Okay.
Anyways, so if you're not up to date on the Saskatchewan carbon tax saga, the last winter, the Atlantic provinces, well, everybody got relief on carbon tax on home heating oil. And Scott Moe got very angry at this because it was playing favorites because only Atlantic Canada uses home heating oil, which is hilarious because northern Saskatchewan uses. But so they decided, in the interest of fairness and definitely not to score political points, to stop collecting carbon tax on home heating, on all home heating in Saskatchewan. And then said, we might remit carbon tax to the government. We might not. Who's to say? And then said not. And so the CRA said, okay, cool. We're just going to take that money from like other stuff. We'll just deduct it from federal transfers because for the CRA, we
know
it's kind of our thing.
There is no power beyond the money. We all know this. So now the Saskatchewan government has officially filed an injunction to stop the CRA from garnishing $28 million from the province's federal transfer.
28 million, eh? Okay.
This is over $28 million. Yeah, it is. But also, like, to give you a sense of scale, that's roughly 5 to 6 Scott Moe vacation.
Can we grade things on a Scott Moe scale? I love it.
Oh my God. Yeah, they're gonna fight to say that the federal government can't collect taxes from the provinces and are going to get soundly destroyed in federal court.
I'm sure there's got to be, unless there's provincial lawyers who are salaried who are like, oh God, this is my life for the next year or two.
Oh,
if they're not,
the whole thing though.
If they're privately hired, they'd be like, oh yes, let's fight it.
Yeah.
There's private law firms. The provincial government's contracting all of this work out to private law firms who just happened to be making major political donations to the province.
Oh my God.
So they run up the bill on these frivolous lawsuits again and again and again.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, we'll drag it out in court. We just flip money to our donors. We don't care.
Yeah.
God bless my province.
I love premiers that go after the federal government for absolutely no reason.
Well, so here's my question is if Saskatchewan doesn't need to pay federal taxes if they don't want to, does that mean I don't either? Because if so, cashola, baby. Gonna be rich.
I barely drive on all those roads.
Oh, roads, come on.
That's right.
We're going, we don't need roads.
Right?
Also, have you been to Saskatchewan? It's not like the roads are getting maintained, man.
It's not a priority.
No. Scott Moe's got to go to India for another trade mission. And then maybe we can get the potholes fixed.
So if you say that it's unconstitutional for you to have to pay taxes, that in and of itself is good enough. Until there's an injunction that...
Have you ever seen those sovereign citizen people?
Yes.
Who just like show up in court and declare that the law doesn't apply to them?
Yeah, it's the people like followers of the Didulo. Is that her name?
Yeah.
The Queen of Canada.
Queen of Canada.
She's still holed up in Richmond, Saskatchewan, hey?
She's still feeding people sardines and vegetables out of her caravan.
Oh my God, that is maybe my favorite thing that's ever happened in Canadian news. For those who don't know, this woman, Romana Didulo, the self-declared Queen of Canada, it's a whole thing. Don't worry about it. It doesn't matter.
It's not a thing.
It doesn't matter. Exactly.
It really doesn't. But it is hilarious that the last time that she was in Ottawa, she came out to greet journalists with a bunch of garden vegetables she chopped up in her RV and unopened cans of sardines.
Welcome to my presser.
Like,
here's the
just
piece. Yeah.
Everybody got sardines? Everybody? Like,
you in the back?
And like,
that's some
I am
vagina
so
sushi right
disappointed that every single journalist was like, I'm good. Like, some journalists passed up on the single greatest thing to keep on their desk.
I would have taken a can of sardines. Absolutely.
Yeah. Like, what's that? That's my sardines from the Queen of Canada.
Right?
What do you got on your desk?
Liz? No, Romana.
But I mean, that goes back to the discussion about people not having the ability to sometimes to critically think. And I think it's a rabbit hole. I think people think, I'm just not going to think about stuff. And then stuff just happens to them. They think, well, I guess that's just the way things are. It's like, no, you're just not thinking about it. You're not putting your mind to work.
People love a charismatic leader. They want somebody to do the thinking for them.
Yeah.
And
they just want someone to say the things so they don't have to worry about it. I know.
And some portion of Saskatchewan's province that I cannot begin to comprehend finds Scott Moe to be quite charming. I don't know how somebody scowling at rodeos is what makes them happy, but here we are.
He did when he showed up at that community hall in that tiny, tiny little village, or as you called it, a middle-sized city,
mid-sized town
in Saskatchewan. Which I think that meant
understand. There are so many towns with like 100 people in this province.
I don't care, man. I don't care. When you said it, the fact that Stuart's eyes and I both went at the same time.
Exactly.
Fight me, bro.
I'll come with a mid-sized town from Ontario, Brampton.
I was about to say, that's like Scarborough.
But I think when you talked about that and he came to the community hall, there's a picture of him and he was dressed uncomfortably close to how I was dressed. So, and I'm not allowed to wear plaid anymore. So
no.
Thanks.
Not on camera, at least. Yeah.
Go exactly.
Mo.
But I mean, the idea that they're suing the CRA is crazy because it opens up the first of all, you're right. It's a losing battle. You're just not. They're not going to win. There's no way in any timeline that the CRA goes, yeah, okay. It's just not gonna,
okay. We'll settle. We'll settle out of court.
Has the CRA ever come away with the conclusion of, you know what? Keep your money.
Keep it. Right. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Everything's fine.
We're good. We got enough. We're fine.
I don't think they've ever been like, we're good. I think we check the accounts and like we can cover everything this month. So
But the big time waste is that it's going to be the other provinces are going to probably join in unison.
Well, I guaranteed. I'm setting my timer of when my province is going to go. Hey, that's a good idea. We like to do that too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and this is it. It's all this anti-federalist nonsense where there's a bunch of individual provinces that are just doing everything they can to undermine the ability of the federal government to do their jobs. And it's hurting individual people.
Like regardless of if it's good or not. That's
like Alberta's opting out of the dental plan. Saskatchewan's
we are
likely going to opt out of the dental plan.
Dumb.
One.
Why?
The arguments being used, again, it's the problem of people not doing their research, right? Because Danielle Smith is saying we don't need a federal dental plan. It's a duplication of services for Alberta. It's going to cause confusion. We provide great services. If the federal government wants better dental, then they should give us the money. Like all this garbage, right? But that's exactly what it is. It's garbage. It's not true. We don't have a good provincial dental plan for middle class people. We have a dental plan for very low income people because that's the threshold for people to qualify. But there's a bunch of people in the middle that would benefit for this. There are seniors that would benefit from this. And she's just unilaterally saying, F you. We don't want the plan. We want the money. Give us the check for it.
Unconditional cash transfers, baby.
Yeah. We're going to use it for dental stuff. You know what? No. If you really thought that was... You're just mad that the feds thought of it first, because if you really gave a shit about people's teeth, you would have budgeted to make the dental plan better. You would have presented something to the feds to say, hey, we want this chunk of money so that we can improve access to dental care in Alberta because we think that it's important healthcare. But just because the feds have come up with it, just like the $10 a day childcare that my province doesn't want to have, just like the pharmacare, right? We're not doing the pharmacare. We have coverage. You know what I mean?
But what I don't understand is, how do people out there who don't have dental coverage for their kids right now, who are still supporting Danielle Smith, sit there and think, this is good for me? Not having dental coverage for my kids is good for me.
Because their kid doesn't have a cavity yet. But the minute their kid has a cavity and they need to go to the dentist and they get the bill, I didn't know that this was going to cost.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Exactly. Though it would be kind of fun if Danielle Smith did get her way and got the transfer, like the money, the dental money, just got the money. Everybody in Alberta got a grill, like one of those wrap grills. You know what I'm talking about? And like people would be like,
give them all. Get them all those like really oversized. No, here's what
I'm going to go to Alberta, get famous, and then I'm going to blow up, or whatever that was.
There is an easy solution to this that would end it would end the need for a national dental program. I've got it. Okay, you just give everybody the old Rudy Giuliani special, the big giant implants.
Yeah, the big veneers.
It's going to say dentures for everybody.
Yeah. Everyone's teeth with those big veneers.
Yeah.
And just be done with it.
Yeah.
Good. We're aces. Just a nation of people with impossibly white teeth.
I mean,
just flying out of your mouth at any chance.
Maybe then everyone would have a TV show. Maybe then that'd be nice.
TV show.
Oh, but we're getting rid of the CBC. So like,
that's true. Exactly.
It's just, it's silly. It's silly. I think
it is silly.
The provincial hatred for the federal government is doing a disservice too.
It's driving me nuts. I've hated the fact like it when back in pandemic days where that was really evident. It was like, oh man, okay, the provinces are way too in control of things, and most of them aren't that bright,
right?
And it was a bit unnerving.
And the provinces are doing a lousy job on a lot of fronts, but also the provincial level is where journalism's been the most undermined. Like basically every major city has a post-media paper, and that's kind of it.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's CTV, there's Global, but those are corporate-owned media. Like it's pretty limited. And so as a result, a lot of these provincial governments have the ability to control the messaging in really significant ways. Like if you are a member of the media and you don't have a lot of bandwidth, you kind of wind up just reprinting press releases to some degree.
Well,
right? So
I'll tell you, our town here, one of the papers, I think we have 3 papers in town, and one of the papers that used to be a daily, which is now down to 3 or 4 editions a week, maybe, I can't remember, is a post media paper. And they contacted me, and they're going to be doing a profile on me. So I'll fix things.
Excellent.
I'll fix it. I'll be the bridge the divide.
What day are they planning on doing the profile? Before or after this episode comes out?
They'll never listen to it. It's fine.
This point, listening to this.
45 minutes into the episode. No, we lose most of our viewers right about now. Our listeners.
15
right
minutes. 15 minutes.
Exactly.
No, we lose them when we start to sing.
Can I just say though? Hold on. For media. Sorry.
No, I like it. Be bossy. It's
all
good.
Right.
Tell us what to do.
Stuart likes it when I'm bossy.
Give us
easy.
Easy. The news stories that go out are just carbon copied news stories, right? But when I look at the press conferences that are put on by the government, by the cabinet ministers doing whatever they're doing, right? The media asking questions put those politicians to the test. Like they ask the difficult questions and they want to get the answers, right? It's just that not everybody sees that. And so that's, if they're flipping through the paper or they're scrolling through whatever, they see that carbon copied news story. They don't see the questions being put forward. And that's unfortunate. Because that's, I think, where when you're catching politicians off script, that's the best judge of whether they believe what they're saying or not, right? How they answer those questions. So anyway, that's it. I'm not bossy anymore.
How Pierre Poilievre absolutely freezes when he has to go off script. the terror in his eyes is always amazing.
His eyes cross ever so slightly when he.
So you said
frustrated.
X, but you did Y. Why is that?
When? Tell me when.
You're the liberal media. You're the
right?
liberal
Yeah,
media.
exactly.
You're a shill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You go on
Who are you with? CP? Yeah.
How much has Justin Trudeau paid you? Yeah, exactly. As he twirls his mustache.
We're going to talk about other stuff, but I think we've run out of time essentially.
Oh,
so
boo-hoo.
we're just going to finish off on this topic.
We talked too much.
But where was it here? The live studio audience question saying we need to get students in middle school and start teaching them civics so they can have informed members of society to become voters. I think in high school there's civics classes that kids have to take now.
So yeah, there's social studies at all levels all through school. Like you learn civics in school. The problem that you wind up with is it's I'm going to get on my soapbox here. This is part of a larger systemic issue in schools where we treat every subject like it's in a silo.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you studied that stuff in social studies, that stuff lives in the little social studies compartment in your brain.
Mm-hmm.
You get out of grade 12 and you're like, well, I don't need social studies anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so because in a lot of cases, social studies becomes talking about things like world history and things like that. And Canadian politics is part of it. But like analyzing Canadian politics is not a thing that people are going to spend a lot of time on in school. They learn about the context. They learn about all that contextual stuff. But it gets treated like it's kind of over and done. What we need to do is address the issue that education in our country kind of stops at 18. And we just assume that people are going to continue learning independently for the rest of their lives. And then we're not providing resources and opportunities to do that. And so we need to also address the question of how do we have educated adults about this stuff at a systemic level? Because there's so many people who just don't know. And it's not that they're stupid. It's that people in power are directly benefiting from them not knowing. Like if I'm the provinces, I can say, well, the federal government's not fixing housing. Yeah, it's our job, but they're not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's a lot easier to do that than it is to educate the public on this stuff. And so who holds that responsibility? How do we manage that? I don't have a great answer.
There's been a real
devaluation. Start like a podcast teaching people.
We should exactly.
Somebody
go
should
over really well.
Take videos and try to educate people.
There's been a whole devaluation of being educated though, and education in general. I think there's been an anti-intellectual movement for a while now, and I remember
that's just like you eggheads to say that.
People are against me because I'm smart.
Yeah, that's why.
I remember thinking, like, I'm noticing this like 10 years ago in music, and I noticed that there was this shift in like lyrical content. And it used to be like, I remember thinking back in the day of when I was, in my teens and like the early mid 80s, early 80s to mid 80s. And I would think about people like that I liked at the time, and it'd be like, oh, they were really into reading stuff. They're really into kind of being smart. They'd be like, oh, I'm reading Cocteau. I'm doing this is based on Camus' work. And I would, as a kid, I would be like, I got to read this now. I got to figure this out. What are they talking about? And this is based off of this. And you'd be like, oh, and then you'd listen to the Clash. And they'd be like, well, they're talking about, riots and stuff like that. And you're like, well, I got to find out about this now. Because I love these guys. These guys are great. I got to find out about it. And that was really missing in popular culture. And it was kind of shifting over to just being like braggadocious instead, and boasting of wealth. And that became like, that kind of replaced, inquisitiveness and intellect, at least it seemed like to me. And it just seems like a natural thing that's happened now, where even though people are getting, the value of a post-secondary education is a lot different than it was 40 years ago, 30 years ago. You're still getting taught a lot of stuff, but at the same time, there's just like not a lot of value put on it, I don't think, anymore.
It's a devaluation of expertise. It's sort of saying my Google search is worth as much as your master's degree, right? And so it's not so much that there's anti-intellectualism too, but I think the advent of the internet has created sort of this mass of armchair experts. We all say as offering political commentary.
As armchair experts.
I see no irony.
But you know what I mean, though? Like it's led to, we saw it during COVID, during the height of COVID, like the armchair immunologists suddenly saying like, well, that's not how vaccines work. Like, really? Do you know?
Yeah.
Like, and so I think that's a big part of the issue too, is this idea of like, what I have Googled off of the internet is worth as much as your genuine expertise. And I don't think we as a society have come up with a great way to navigate that.
I remember being like 16, 17, like getting up to 18, being so excited to vote and taking that so like with so much responsibility. I know. It's like, whatever.
Nerd.
I know. And I just don't know that we have that. And I don't know if it's because like there's so much other stuff going on and things are coming at people so quickly. Or it's easier to hide in all the other stuff. I mean, when we think about music from, 20, 30 years ago, not that there isn't that today, but a lot of the music was about like revolution and like it was about change and stuff like that, right? We have different genres of music now, things like, but the things that we see on social media, if you're not on a certain algorithm like we are on, it's instant gratification to make people happy, to forget about whatever they might be going through. Right?
Dopamine hits all the time.
Dopamine hits. We need some serotonin levels. It's that kind of stuff. And I think it's natural. And this isn't just kids. These are adults. Adults need a form of escapism. And so when we're talking about the reality of, whether we're talking about financial, we're talking about housing, we're talking about education, people are just like, I'm trying to live day to day, right? I just want to come home and scroll through and see what people do, what dances or people are doing next. So, and I think that's where the Poilievres of the world, when they've got their one-liners, are getting people, right? Axe the tax. He gets it. I like him.
I think algorithms have a lot to answer for. I think that mindset, the algorithm mindset of business and politics and life in general and information, is a lot to answer for that. I mean, there's that idea of you just get what you want to get. You're living in your bubble. You're hearing what you want to hear. You see what you want to see. Whatever makes you make someone else the most money is what you're going to keep on doing. That's a terrible thing. I think it's I don't know. Let's figure that out in the next episode.
Okay.
Well,
we have homework.
There's also the layer of like the money also controls what gets out there, right? Like what messages make it past the filter. Like the question I always ask is, could Norma Rae get made today? Like, could a big, like, let's start a union movie get released by a major studio now? No, not a million.
Yeah.
They're not going to be like, yeah, our workers should organize. Do that.
Yeah, right.
Probably not.
Let's invest millions of dollars. So yeah, no, fair. That's fair.
Well, we've solved nothing, but let's end off with our much beloved theme song.
Highly requested, much beloved.
I think when I looked at the analytics, I think our listenership peaked at the theme. I can't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure the graph went dramatically in one direction.
What's the opposite of a peak? Crater?
No, I think it just went skyrocketed like a rocket.
Like people skip the whole thing and go to the end and
they scrub to the end. They're probably doing it around about now. And I think we should do this week. We're going to do an entirely choral a cappella.
Oh, like what's that one band that you they always play the recording of for Canada in elementary schools? Was it Streetniks? Hoja? It was one of those.
You're making up both of those names.
That's just sounds. You're just making sounds.
There's bands that tour elementary schools.
Boobla boobla.
Streetniks and Hoja are both things. I guarantee the comments are going to be like, yeah, I remember Streetniks and Hoja vividly. I assure you.
Okay. Now, did Hoja, did she stay on when Kathy Lee Gifford came on? Thank you for laughing at that, Lisa.
I got it.
I love you saw the dad joke expression take over his face.
He just glows.
And
it's not catatonic,
so
it's datatonic.
Telling me is
my face went datatonic. Datatonic. Did what I had to do. All right, let's just do the theme. You ready? We're going to do the theme. Thanks so much for watching and or listening to Podcast is Broken. Remember, you can subscribe at podcastisbroken.ca and you'll get an email notification. You can become a paid subscriber and you can become part of our live studio audience like the many people who are here tonight and had an amazing time. They become friends, some of them lifelong friends, and some enemies, but very few. I mean, there's differences. They got to work through that. That's up to them.
Some mortal enemy.
They got to work through that. That's just part of life. And of course, on your favorite podcast platform, Podcast is Broken. And let's do our theme song, a cappella, choral. Do we need to count in?
All right, I'll bring in the rhythm here.
Okay. Oh, he said he was going to auto-tune that, and he's regretting that entirely now. I appreciate it. I think he chose the do, which was good. That should be easy to auto-tune.
There you go.
Yeah, that'll be easy to auto-tune. It'll be fine.
We tried.
Anyway, thanks so much, you guys. We'll see you next week. Take care. See ya.
Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Folks.